Meet Joe. Joe is a classic introvert who loves spending time in quiet spaces, enjoy deep thinking, and prefer listening to others rather than being the center of attention. But when it comes to public speaking, Joe has always felt a bit uneasy. Whether it is giving a presentation at work or speaking in a group setting, the idea of standing in front of others and delivering a speech has always made Joe nervous. But recently, Joe decided to take time to tackle his fears of public speaking. Let's take a look at how Joe is working on mastering his skills step by step. First up, Joe started to recognize his strengths. As an introvert, Joe realized he excels at deep thinking, careful listening, and meticulous planning, all of which was key to effective public speaking. By organizing his thoughts clearly and presenting them in a structured manner, Joe found that he could communicate his ideas with clarity and confidence. Next, Joe knew he needed to practice. He started small by practicing his speech in front of a mirror, paying attention to his pacing, tone, and body language. As he grew more comfortable, Joe began practicing in front of a few close friends who provided him with supportive feedbacks. Recording himself also helped Joe identify areas where he could improve. With each practice session, Joe became more familiar with his content, and slowly but surely his confidence began to grow. One other technique that really helped Joe was visualization. Before each practice session, Joe would take a few moments to close his eyes and imagine himself delivering a successful speech. He pictured himself standing confidently and speaking clearly and connecting with his audience. By visualizing these positive outcomes, Joe trained his mind to expect success, which helped reduce his anxiety and boost his confidence when he finally stepped up to speak. But even with all his preparation, Joe couldn't help but worry about how his audience might judge him. To overcome this fear, Joe shifted his focus away from the audience and concentrated on the message he wanted to share. He reminded himself that his goal was to communicate valuable information, not to win the approval of every listener. He focused on the content of his speech rather than how he might be perceived. With this, Joe found it easier to speak with confidence and purpose. Of course, like many introverts, Joe found that anxiety could sometimes creep up during his speeches, causing his heart to race, his breathing to become shallow. To manage this, Joe practiced deep breathing techniques. Before he began to speak, Joe took slow, deep breaths to calm his nerves and steady his voice. And if he felt anxious during his speech, he would pause for a moment, take another deep breath, and then continue. This simple practice helped Joe maintain his composure and speak more effectively. Understanding that he wasn't ready to jump straight into lengthy presentations, Joe decided to start small. He volunteered to lead a few meetings at work, gave short presentations whenever he could. These smaller, less pressured opportunities allowed Joe to build his confidence gradually. As he became more comfortable with this setting, Joe found himself better prepared to tackle larger speaking engagements. Joe also discovered that technology could be a helpful ally in his journey. He began practicing his speeches on platforms like Zoom, where he could speak in front of a virtual audience. This felt less intimidating to Joe, and he was still able to gain valuable experience from it. After each section, Joe would ask for constructive feedback from his virtual audience, which helped him redefine his skills even further. And speaking of feedback, Joe learned not to shy away from it. Although it was initially uncomfortable, Joe sought out constructive criticism from trusted friends, colleagues, and mentors after each presentation. He realized that feedback was essential for his growth as a speaker. Over time, Joe became more open to receiving and acting on feedback, understanding that it is a crucial part of his development. Public speaking was once Joe's greatest fear, but by embracing his strengths, practicing regularly, visualizing success, and focusing on his message, Joe became a confident and more effective speaker. This journey reminds us that progress is more important than perfection, and that even the most introverted among us can learn to speak with confidence. Thanks for joining us on this video on Joe's journey, and remember to like and subscribe, and also share this video to anyone who might find it helpful. See you next time. Bye.